associate educators. They are holding their conference beginning 29 in Pretoria, that is South Africa. So I know some of your leaders here will be attending that conference. It is very important because that is the organization that is doing the curriculum mapping to help us. We are working together with them so that we come up with a common curriculum, which will end up we having a common name. So despite the physician assistant name that you have here, it will take time maybe to change because of the laws of Ghana. But we want a situation where a physician assistant, when you go to East Africa, we recognize you as a clinical practitioner. But then everybody with the different names. GACOPA was formed to harmonize, to come up with one name and one curriculum. We exist in 80 plus countries. We exist in 80 plus countries with close to 25 names. So you can imagine 25 names. Some are called physicians, some are called health extension officers, some are called medical assistants, some are assistant medical officers, different names. And I am sure for those who will be following the International Academy of PA conference in Johannesburg, Pretoria, the loop presentation will map out how we exist in those countries. Another achievement that we've got as GACOPA is in Papua New Guinea. The health extension officers who are the PAs there, they were not regulated, they were regulated by the Medical and Dental Council. But all that time, they've never had a representative in that council. So for the first time, the president of that association joined that council, which was a milestone to us. We, in New Zealand, the Physician Associates program in New Zealand has now been recognized by the government. The government in New Zealand has now recognized physician assistants. That is also another milestone for GACOPA. We have introduced the training of clinical officers or PAs in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe had no clinical officers and they needed them because the issues of primary health care, shortage of doctors, a lot of things. So Parliament of Zimbabwe have already introduced a motion in that parliament. We visited Parliament of Zimbabwe twice and the third time they agreed. And now the clinical officers or PA profession in Zimbabwe is on its feet. Botswana had clinical officers or PAs, but then they had issues. We've already sorted that. That's our fourth conference was in Botswana. Burundi, we've introduced, we've helped them set up the association. The Burundi Clinical Officers Association is up. South Sudan, the same, it was launched this year. So those are the things that we are doing, and we are doing it together with the associations that we have. So then we also have the International Federation for Physician Associates and compare the students. So the student body, which is a bit, we are trying to revive it, is something that we want to revive. I know the president of the students body in Ghana is among the executives. I think he's the vice president. So we are reviving that so that in conferences that we organize, we always have Students' Day, a day before the conference. And I believe, Mr. President, in next year's conference, reserve the work for the students so that they showcase their talents and everything. So I am deeply honored to address you today, and I share the story of the clinical officers profession in Kenya, a model that has stood the test of time and continues to inspire across Africa. The clinical officers profession in Kenya started in 1928. And at that time, they were known as medical assistants. Before that, they were called health assistants, then dressers. So it moved until 1970s when they introduced the name clinical officers. So by that time, majority of people who are, majority of those who are seeking healthcare in Kenya were seen by clinical officers. And at one time, we said that the physician or the late first president of Kenya was a clinical officer. So you can imagine at that time, 1928. In 1985, the push to have the clinical officers regulate themselves began. And in 1988, an act of parliament that was created and passed by Parliament, created the Clinical Officers Council of Kenya. So in 1988, the clinical officers in Kenya had already got their freedom. We say that as a freedom because you are now not regulated by the doctors, you are not regulated by any other amorphous body, but now you are regulating yourself. They call it self-regulation. That happened, and it also now opened doors for the clinical officers of Kenya to specialize. So we add specialties like ENT, ophthalmology, dermatology, and all those specialties at that time. Right now, as we speak, there are close to 27 specialties in Kenya, and they are the ones who are seeing majority of the patients in Kenya, just because of the self-regulation. So, personally, me, I'm a clinical officer who has specialized in dermatology and pediatrology, and in my region, I'm the consultant there. I get referrals from all the corners, whether they are medical officers or whether they are nurses. I get those referrals, and I work independently. I prescribe and do those things independently, and that is where we are heading to. Don't think that we are not heading there. You people, you are heading there, and it's just a matter of time. So in Kenya, there are 3 arms within the clinical officers profession. When I talk of clinical officers, just who is physician associate or physician assistant. So I just mentioned clinical officers. I don't want to say clinical officers or physician assistants because we are one and the same. So we have the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers that is fighting for the rights of the clinical officers. They go on industrial action, they negotiate with the government. Currently, they are on the verge of having a CBA. And that CBA entails a lot of things, even an increase in risk allowance. They are said also, even call allowance will be increased. So in 3 years' time, they went on strike and they had a call allowance introduced, just as our counterparts. So we have the also have the association, the Kenya Clinical Officers Association, just like the GPA. The Kenya Clinical Officers Association are also doing whatever GPA is doing here. I believe all of you know what they do, professional development, all those things like conferences that are being organized, career guidelines. And the other thing is now the Office of the Director of Clinical Services. We put it in such a way that, considering that we have an act, we made it in a way that the Director of Clinical Services in Kenya must be a clinical officer. So that is something that we have to insert in the law, that the Director of Clinical Services in Kenya must be a clinical officer, whether degree, master's, PhD, but you must be a clinical officer. So if you are a medical doctor or a nurse and you want to become a Director of Clinical Services, there is no room for you to be that. Then we also have the council, the Clinical Officers Council of Kenya. Majority of the members are clinical officers. The chair must be a clinical officer and the registrar, the CEO, must be a clinical officer. Some of them we've interacted with, and the president has interacted with some of them, even when we were in the UK. So that Kenya has got a diploma in clinical medicine and surgery. Then we have a bachelor's of science in clinical medicine and community health. We also have a master's program in clinical medicine. So this master's program in clinical medicine, they are specialties. We have 4 right now, if I'm not wrong. We have a master's in clinical medicine in reproductive health, child health and pediatrics, oncology, and we also have the forensic medicine. But then, majority of the specialists have higher diploma. In other countries, you call them advanced diploma. So these advanced diploma are the ones that were initially there, and there are so many. Right now, there are close to 27 higher diplomas. If you go to the website, the main college that trains them is the Kenya Medical Training College. We have even those who have done cardiology, higher diploma in, there are several. And they are the people who are seeing patients in those areas. So right now, we produce master's program, and this master's program, they are called clinical specialists. The first graduates for the master's program in reproductive health from Kirinyaga University, that was last week, and they were celebrated. So that is what is happening. And now they are also introduced PhD program for those who want